Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. How are you? First of all, before I start, I just wanted to thank you all for your lovely DMs and kind words in welcoming me to this platform. And actually, one of you contacted me and suggested the topic of this week. So thank you very much. The topic of this week is corporate communication strategy. And specifically, when should you think about having one, why you should have one, what does it entail, and who should take responsibility when you create it. And finally, how do you utilize it to communicate ESG? Let's start with what it is. The corporate comms, I'm just going to call it comms strategy, okay? The comms strategy is literally a document that, ideally speaking, should be written the minute you finish writing and perfecting your business plan and testing your product. Okay? And if you haven't done that, it's not late, because you will need it more than ever when you're about to scale up. Because you were lucky enough so far to get away with not having it, but you won't get lucky when you grow. You will need a proper strategy. The good news is that 50% of the comms strategy, i.e. the content of it, 50% of its content is actually coming from your business plan. So 50% is done, okay? The only part that would really need some careful attention and careful consideration is your key message that would be associated with your mission, vision, purpose, and values. So it's all good and well that we have statements of all of this, but what do they really mean? When our audience, including our investors, our employees, our clients, when they read it, when they read these mission, vision, purpose, what do we want them to really feel, think, and do? And that's what we call key messages. Okay? So that's the difficult part. But if you get it right, you're really in a good place. The second thing that we need to think of is, what channels are we going to utilize to get to our customers? And as founders and CEOs, when we're launching a company, we're always at the risk of just focusing on marketing and advertising and not really paying attention to the other facets of communications. And this is why I'm saying it's best to write it, to have a strategy the minute you finish your business plan. Okay? Why do you need a comms strategy? Because the comms strategy is going to act as your accountability booklet. It will help you make the right decisions based on the type of channels, type of messages, audience, and product features. It will also act as a place to come back to whenever you are growing. So it's a working document, basically. It's not going to stop changing. But for me personally, the most important aspect of the comms strategy is that you will be unified in your direction and your ways of thinking and vision throughout your journey. Because it is a framework and you have to follow the framework. And if you don't follow the framework and you realize you haven't followed the framework, it has consequences. But also think of it this way. When you're scaling up, realistically speaking, you don't have a time to talk to your employees, to talk to your and basically to get everything and focus on every single aspect of your business. So the comms strategy again, will be acting as a foundation for your 200-day team, as I call them, to be aligned to your original vision and mission and purpose. Okay? How do you utilize the and before I forget, the corporate comms plan or strategy, sorry, it acts as a spine. If you have it and you get it right, then you can give it to your marketing team, and from it they will create their marketing plan. If you give it to your PR team, they will utilize it and transform it into their PR plan. If you give it to your HR team, they will utilize it in attracting the right talent and in their internal HR communications. And if you give it to your investor communications team, they would align all the key messages and the emotional sentiments to how they address the right investors. So it is extremely important. It has so many functions. It's not just a newsletter or a blog here or a marketing activity here. It is the spine of everything you do. How do you utilize it once you start pivoting and become and implement any changes related to ESG? It really it depends on what type of changes you're about to implement. Is it the E, is it the S, or is it the G? But my advice to you is that never ever think that because you're so involved in the change that everyone understands what you're doing, or even have the attention span to relate to what you're doing. So you need to simplify it, and you need to really try and transform these technical changes, whether, let's say, for example, you are reducing your carbon emission, or your water wastage in your offices, or your electricity wastage, or even investing in a community or a society where the social impact is going to be prevalent. So this is amazing. You're doing an amazing job, but you need to be very clear. What does that really mean to your employees versus clients versus investors? And to do that, get champions from within your companies to act as your conduits and to translate the technical information into behaviors and attitudes. Because at the end of the day, it's all about behaviors and attitudes and mindset. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. And that's the advice I always give my clients who ask me, how can we do this? Another example so one of the tactics I implemented is that last year a client of mine wanted to become more carbon efficient. They've changed everything related to that to achieve that. I took that technical information and translated it into an app that employees would be able to use. This app helped them calculate their own carbon emission. And what was fascinating is that when employees realized how much carbon emission they have been contributing to, whether they were taking a train, whether they were flying, or whether they were walking, for example, which doesn't have a carbon emission, but it's just, I'm just saying, it's just an idea. They were able to live and breathe what the company was implementing and was hoping to achieve. So try to think that way. Simplify everything you do into actions and behaviors and attitudes. And this way, you will bring your ESG strategies to life. So I hope this was helpful. And if you want any help with all of this, or if you need any templates or tools and kits, Please contact me anytime. I am available on LinkedIn under Gihan Hyde, or on Twitter under at communique_UK. Have a lovely week in advance, and let me know your thoughts. Take care.